Well, hello, my beautiful Gemmies. Thank you so much for having so much patience with me. I have been so ill. My voice has finally come back. I'm still kind of coughing, but let's talk about you. You guys have like this new phase coming, and I know you're feeling lethargic. I know you're like battling with yourself. I can feel it. Um, so, welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cindy. I am the modern day spiritual advisor. I use multiple modalities, including tarot, astrology, mediumship, hypnotherapy, all kinds of stuff to help you on your path. So, my gorgeous, sweet Gemmies, it's been a while. We have Mercury that's gone retrograde today. And guess what? It's in the third house, which is your house. And um, Mercury is your ruling sign. So, you're going to be really affected by this. So, Mercury's gone in this house. The third house is about communication. It's about your friends, your neighbors, your siblings, relatives. It can be about your acquaintances, your coworkers, but it could also be about documents and, if you vlog or do any video editing or any administrative stuff, anything having to do with paperwork or communication in any way, like phones, laptops, even transportation. So just be very aware while Mercury is in retrograde in this house for you, because you're going to feel it more than most. Okay, so it will be retrograde until August 19th. So you got a whole month with this going on. But remember, retrogrades are about processing things. And when I'm looking at your chart in this whole next month, and by the way, as you can see, sorry I didn't say that before, I didn't put the tarot on here because this is going to be a longer video because it's going all the way through August. And the tarot, I'm doing a full spread on the other video. So I'm going to get all the astrology signs out, the astrology, all the signs out first, and then I'll go back and do the tarot. Okay, so when I'm looking at your chart at the overall theme of what's going on from now till the end of August and into September, you have some big changes coming. We have the solar eclipse it was a partial solar eclipse that came. And so that, I think, is a misnomer about what was really going to be going on. Every astrologer does it differently, and they have their own aspects and they have their own interpretations, and that's what makes this great, because you can see sides of everything, especially gems, right? So with the solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse, to me, this would have given you an indication of what's coming to pass in your solar eclipse, right? So I'll give you an example. I give the example to the others. Maybe you've been looking for a job, trying to get a job, or you've been trying to get a house or whatever, a job, we'll say a job, or a new career. And all of a sudden, in the partial solar eclipse, from then until now, maybe you received word about, oh, you got the job, but it doesn't start until such and such date, right? So whatever was being worked on or is being worked on, or whatever gift you've been given in the partial solar eclipse, it won't actually finalize or get going or have it in your hand, so to speak. So like you would actually have the check in your hand or the money in your hand or the position where you've already written all, signed all documents or whatever at the solar eclipse. That makes sense? So whatever happened in this partial solar eclipse on the 13th of July, whatever was going on, whatever's been highlighted, whatever you've been focusing on, whatever gift came through, it was just news of the gift, right? And so at the solar eclipse in August, it's gonna get finalized, or it's gonna become more of a reality to you. Does that make sense? So I'll go and I'll talk about what the lunar and the solar, what eclipses are about. But because Mercury retrograde is going to be so prominent for you, going back to what I was saying before, if I look at what's going to be going on in August and September for you, this is about these big changes that you've been wanting. And I'm going to say wanting because some of you know what to do and you're not doing it. Some of you know what to do and you're like, I can't get in that space where I've got all the energy to be able to make it go forward, right? Well, we've had all these retrogrades, okay? So one, I want you to be easy on yourself. Don't like tear yourself down, because I know you can do that, Jimmy's. And so retrogrades are about amending, revising, editing, really processing and looking and trying to figure it out, right? So we don't actually have to take all the steps when we're in retrograde. And look at all these retrogrades. Like we got Mercury retrograde, we've got the North Node retrograde, um, we've got Chiron retrograde, we've got Neptune retrograde, we've got Mars retrograde, we've got Pluto retrograde, we've got Saturn retrograde. And so no wonder you feel like, oh, I just gotta, like, I can't get through. Like, I know what to do and it's not doing it. Or it just takes too much energy, and why am I fighting with myself, and why am I in my head, and why every time I take a step it feels like I'm taking two back. And like, that's all these retrogrades, because you're about to, if you look at the bigger picture, you're about to clear some stuff. This is a time for you to process. I don't know how to say this. So where Aquarians have this way of disconnecting from their emotion, putting it away, and then keep it moving, you guys will actually turn it off. I don't know how to, but there's a difference where you guys will say, almost like you get mad and you're like, I don't want to deal with that, or I'm not going to deal with that, or this is my choice, period. And then you just make an ultimatum and you don't feel it, right? And you don't, or you'll feel it a little bit and then you'll decide to go do something else, right? Or you won't completely process it. I hope this is making sense. There's a difference between the way Aquarians do it and the way that you do it. And the reason I'm saying this is because there are some things that you didn't complete while you were processing. And I'm talking about from now back until like 5, 6, some of you even 7 years ago. 6.5, 7 is what I'm hearing. Not up to 7, but almost at 7. So there were some things, there was some trauma. And listen, Jimmys, you know that I know, because my son is a Gemini. Geminis have this really harsh life. They have these big, big traumas that can happen in their life, especially with people crossing over, right? And I'll tell you from the bigger perspective of what I understand and what Spirit's helped me understand is that it's because you guys are such old souls and you understand that they're never really gone, but you still have that human side where you're trying to process the understanding of why it's happened, why are they gone, and because they're gone, am I going to allow myself to be sad, happy, glad? Like, it's part of you being human. It's part of you wanting to process this stuff and experience and understand and grow your light, right? Okay, so I know I got off on a tangent, but I'm trying to help you understand that in all of this, with all of these retrogrades, with everything that's happening, there are some things that you chose not to let go of because you're mad, because they did you wrong, because you're upset, because you really love that person, because poor me, because whatever. Like, everybody has their own reasons, and there's no judgment. There's no judgment. Like, everybody has their own reason, okay? But in that, you kept that energy and you didn't finish processing it because it was too painful, because you had to keep going. For whatever reason, you didn't keep processing it. Well, now that these retrogrades are here, some of you are being a little bit, some of you are being stubborn, and some of you are like, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. Like, that's what I keep hearing. I don't see it, so I don't know where to go. So I'm kind of confused. Yeah, and what I'm hearing is, I don't know why they're having me talk this way, but what I'm hearing is, it's the things that you don't want to do. Those things are the very things that you need to do to get you to that psychic thing that you saw. Your dream, your hope, your life, right? Because we all know, Jimmy, you're psychic. You're extremely psychic. And if anybody says anything different, they just don't know, because you're extremely psychic. So you have this space where you can see your future. You have this space where you can see like a big future coming or a definite future coming, right? But you get lost in the through growth. You feel like you get lost through growth. Like, I don't really see it. I thought that's what it was. Da 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 da. This person did this to me. How did I not see that? If I'm so psychic, if I'm so intuitive, if I'm so empathic, how did I not see that coming? Right? But you don't understand that it's part of your growth not to be able to see it when it happens. Right? Otherwise, you would know, and then you wouldn't grow. Right? So there are these things that you're really needing to get through with these retrogrades, with these squares going on, with these retrogrades, with this north node, south node, with these eclipses. These are things that you're needing to get through, let go. so that you will have the energy, so that you will have the, I don't know, oomph, so that you'll have that passion, so that you'll have that direction, so that you'll have that focus again, right? And so you may be feeling a little lost right now, even though mentally you're like, I know what to do, it's just too much effort to do it. And it's because of all these retrogrades. Because you're not, from your higher self, you're not allowing yourself to go forward. From your higher self, it's protecting you. It's like you're not going to go forward until you release this stuff, because you have this bigger thing that's coming. And if you've heard me before, if you haven't, this will be new to you. In our unlimited higher self's whole being, you can have unlimited energy run through you. But in this resonance on this earth, there is only so much energy that can run through you, right? That's your cars, your houses, your friends, your relationships, your even down to your coffee, you know? Everything is energy, and it runs through you if it's in your world, if it's in your field, right? And so these things that you didn't get to process before, these traumas, these people that betrayed you, these things that you thought you got over because you were starting to process and then you didn't, right? Or you didn't take the action during the process, right? For whatever reason. So there are these things that you're holding on to that some of you don't even realize you're holding on to it, right? And so with these retrogrades, it's almost like the universe having your back and your higher self having your back and saying, it's time to go back and look at these. And the more that you try to move forward, Jimmy, because you don't like to be at the same place at the same time, like you got to be moving, right? The more that you try to move forward, the more energy you're going to expend, because it's not going to go anywhere right now, because it's about to go somewhere. But this is like the last, almost like the 11th hour, where you've got to clear this stuff, because this isn't the time to be thrust forward, right? This is the time to like clear it, so that when the thrust forward comes, when that solar eclipse comes, you will have room in your energetic field to be able to accept and receive those blessings, to be able to have those things run through your life, right? To have room in your energetic field to do that. Does that make sense? I know that was a tangent, but I think I think you're needing to understand that there's a reason nothing's going forward right now. There's a reason that some things were happening, but then it stopped happening, and then it just, you know what to do, or you thought you knew what to do, and you're getting confused, and you're just like, oh, forget it, right? Okay, it's because of all these retrogrades. But we're moving into this time, especially when the solar eclipse comes, where you're going to be thrust into the new. Now, let me tell you, you're going to be thrust either way, but there's only so many blessings that can come your way, dependent on how much energy you have that can run through you. It depends on how much energy, how much field, how much room in your energetic field, how much room in your energetic field can run through. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So, going back to this Mercury retrograde, like there is something going on here. When I'm looking here, this is your North Node. Your North Node is about your path. This is about the destined fate stuff that's on your path that you want to experience, right? That you came here to do, right? With the sun being here so close to it, it's retrograde. So it's like having you revise, having you amend, having you rethink, having you try to understand. But there's going to be some clarity, or there's some clarity going on. And there's a lot of processing that you've been doing, Like really trying to understand, I'm tired of doing these things over and over. Why do I set myself up for this? Like all of that. And so there's some clarity coming here, especially today on the 26th, but it's been happening probably over the last week, right? Now that Mercury's retrograde, it's more processing. Mercury's here to help you understand. Mercury's here to help you process this. Remember, Mercury is the messenger. Mercury is like, now's not the time to thrust forward into something. Now's the time to look at these things and say, okay, why did I do that? How come that keeps coming? What am I not learning? What do I need to understand? What do I want to experience? How did that person, why does that type of person keep coming into my life? Why does this scenario keep happening over and over again? Like all of that, that's what's going on during this Mercury retrograde. But on the micro level, your day-to-day stuff, it could be happening with your siblings, with your acquaintances, with your coworkers, with your neighbors, with your friends. And it could be about communication. It could be about the paperwork and the editing and the data. It's going to come about different in different ways. It's almost like something may come to you in your daily thing that triggers something major. Like it causes you to think of, wow, why does that always happen? Like it doesn't matter where I am and what career I'm in, that type of person always comes to me, or that type of scenario always comes to me. That's just giving you an example. Okay, so I really wanted you guys to understand that. Now let's talk about these retrogrades, and the reason I'm saying this too is because from August, so that's today. Tomorrow is the eclipse. So let's talk about the eclipse. Sorry. Let's talk about what eclipses mean. So eclipses have to do with your soul's journey. Okay? Eclipses have to do with divinely guided things, your heart being connected to your higher self, your soul's path, your soul's journey, right? And this is so when these eclipses happen, these karmic events happen, right? And so when this happens, this is so that you can evolve. This is so that you can grow your soul, so that you can become aware, so that your light gets bigger. That's why these things are happening, okay? And I know you Jimmies like to know why. Well, that's why, because there are certain events that you've said you want to happen karmically. I don't even want to say karmically. There are certain events that you want to happen that will thrust you or push you to be able to grow your light, okay? That's what eclipses are about. Now, lunar eclipse, everybody was talking about the solar eclipse, but I think the lunar eclipse is the big dog. I think the lunar eclipse is what's really, that's this time. And the reason I think it's more on the forefront is because we have all these retrogrades going on. And then we have this big lunar eclipse on the south node, which is, the south node is your past life. Or the south node, there were things in your childhood that came through from your south node. The south node is these karmic things that you've been doing, these contracts that you've had, this mastery that you've done, right? So what can happen is that during the time that we have mastered, like our south node, whatever's in our south node, our past karmic stuff, those things can become a habit. And so when we come into this life, we could bring a scenario back in here when we don't really even need to, because we've already mastered it. But we're just so used to the habit of doing it that way that we could bring it. I'm not saying everybody does it, but the reason I'm saying this is because lunar eclipse have to do with letting go. Lunar will take things away from us, right? Lunar eclipses will take things from us, but it'll take things from us because it's teaching us about detachment. Again, from your soul's journey, from your south node, helping you understand you've already mastered that. Yes, you may have done it 1,000 times and 1,000 lives before, but it's a habit now, and so it's time to release it. It's time that you don't need to do this again, okay? And that's the big thing that I'm getting from spirit, from source. The big thing is that these things have become habit for us, and so we bring them back into our lives. Because remember, what we think, I am. You are the I am. So I am what I am, right? And so some of you have brought these things subconsciously, remember, south node, subconscious, higher self, and you don't need to do it anymore. And so this is the time that they're really trying to help you let go, detach, because this is what it teaches you. It teaches you to detach, let go, and move to the new, right? And so detaching and letting go of what no longer serves you. So what could come about is there's something that's going to need to be let go of, okay, during this lunar eclipse, also, in the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, lunar eclipse you can feel for up to about 5 or 6 months, really prominently for the first 4 months. Solar eclipses you can feel from 6 months to a year, depending on your chart. This all depends on your chart, but I would say really prominently for 5 months, okay? So in these next 5 months, with this in these next 4 months especially, but up to 6 months, you could be letting go of something or someone, some relationship that keeps happening, somebody that keeps coming back in, but more so because this is tied to your south node, if you look here, I'm going to look on the 27th. Yeah. So on the 27th, this is your north node, and so your south node is always completely opposite. It's always exactly opposite, okay? So you're going to have this lunar eclipse here at 4 degrees, Aquarius, and you have the south node at 5 degrees. So you have the south node, Mars, and the lunar eclipse, which means old karma can be released. These contracts can be torn up. You're done with these things. You're done with these people, this relationship, these things, right? They keep showing up. And so you can make a conscious effort, because remember, you are the I am. So wherever I am, that's what I'm going to be, right? That's what it's going to come out to the physical, right? So letting go of old karma, letting go of past relationships, letting go of trauma, letting go of situations, letting go, for some of you, of people. For others, it's going to be, this could be about completing some things. Like, oh my God, I finally understanding, got that done. Oh my God, I finally pushed myself through and got this done. And so, oh my God, like maybe you've been working 6 months on some project, and then you get word that it's finished, finalized, you're done. Like there's completions going on in here. Okay? But because we have Mars and the south node, because we have Mars, it could come about through chaos or crisis. But Gemini, you've done chaos and crisis most of your life, so you know how to deal with this, okay? Just get back to your center, understand what it is that you're trying to finish up, or if you finished it and no longer need it, let it go, right? And so because of this, you could have a lot of anger and frustration because of this Mars, and it's opposing your north node, because your north node is trying to give you something, right? Your south node is just you're used to your south node. That feels comfortable for you. So in this particular area at this time, this feels a little bit more comfortable for you, but it's causing you to look at what is not happening, why it hasn't happened, why am I repeating, all of this stuff, right? So that's what the lunar eclipse has to deal with. You can look at my full moon steps to take to release energy, and I'll have anything I talk about, if I have a video on it, or I'll have the links down in the description box below on the side of the video or up at the eye icon, okay? So that's the lunar eclipse. That will be happening tomorrow. So then we have, releasing old karma. Well, I will tell you this, because this lunar eclipse is squaring Uranus. And Uranus is in your 12th house, which even more so, the 12th house is about the connection to your past lives. The 12th house is about your connection to your past life, your present life, and your future life, right? The 12th house is the connection between you and your higher selves, you and the other worlds. It's about completions. It's about endings. It's about researching. It's about understanding. It's about fate, destiny. So for you guys to have this Uranus squaring your lunar eclipse in your 12th, you really have some endings. You really have some completions. Your life is going to change, right? You just got to stop feeling guilty. You got to go with the flow. You got to see things from clarity. Like you got to decide, what do I want? What do I not want? What am I willing to do? What am I willing to compromise in? What am I not? When these things come up, I'm not going to look the other way and say it's not happening. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be courageous. And I'm going to say, it's time for this to end. It's time for me to do this. It's time for, you got to do that, because it's always a choice. No matter how much I say that these energies are going to do whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is your choice. You have free will. You can always either accept and allow or deny them. And you can wait till the next round, the next time that it comes around. Like, if you don't do this now, you can wait. You can wait. There's no judgment. I'm not saying you have to do this now. I'm saying these are the energies that are coming, and it's up to you to decide. All right, I am going to do the work. Oh, no, I am going to be aware. I am going to be conscious. I am going to try to grow. Or, no, I want to take a break. I'm tired of all this. I don't want to do this anymore, right? Like, that's kind of up to you. Everybody has their choices. We have free will. So, saying that, I will say that there will be some changes, like abrupt. If you're not looking, there are certain things that have to happen from your higher self, from you, to have that path of yours, right? And so that's where Uranus comes in. So Uranus will shift, but it'll shift you so it can liberate you. Because remember, no matter what, you're always being protected. You're always being protected by a source, by the universe, by your angels, by your guides, by your loved ones. You're always being protected. So Uranus comes in here. He will shift things to liberate you, to help you feel better, to help you understand more, to give you some relief, right? It won't feel that way when it happens, but once it's done, it'll feel that way. You'll be like, oh, thank God that happened. I would have never done it that way. Thank God that person did that, or thank God that job ended, or thank God I had to move. Like, thank God, right? Okay. That 12th house I wanted to really highlight. Okay, and before, what I was saying about this, Mars and Uranus, the reason I'm bringing this up is because from August 1st through the 15th, yep, August 1st to the 15th, you are going to have, I'm going to put it back on the 7th, but August 1st through the 15th, you're going to have Saturn square Chiron and Mars square Uranus, right? So these two, this is going to feel like a push and pull for the next 15 days. So y'all thought y'all were feeling crazy now or feeling lethargic now. You're going to really be feeling it like from now, even more so from August 1st through the 15th. There's just going to be this push and pull, this push and pull. I know what I got to do. I don't want to do it. I want to do it. I don't want to do it. What do I want to do? Why do I got to do it twice? What do I got to da-da-da-da, right? Whatever you haven't let go of, remember, it's a process. For the next 5 months, you're letting go, you're understanding, you're letting go, you're ending, you're completing, you're letting go, okay? So, this Saturn and Chiron. Saturn is about delays. Saturn is about making you really work for it. Saturn wants to know you're going to work for it if it's going to give it to you, right? Chiron is the wounded healer. I have a video on Chiron and how to work through it. Chiron is about feeling like I can never, no matter what I do, this never is healed. No matter what I do, I'm always at the wrong place at the wrong time. It always happens to me. That's Chiron. And to grow in Chiron, you learn to help others through your mistakes. And that's how you're released. Okay, so watch my Chiron video because that's going to help you. But this push and pull, this Saturn, like you got to work for it, and this Chiron, like it doesn't matter if I work for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't happen anyway. Forget it. Like, I know how we can get bratty, right? So that's what's going to be happening, this push and pull. Then you have this Mars. Mars wants to rule, okay? Mars likes to just go in and all, I don't know, special forces and stuff. Just go in and, right? Mars is the god of war. But Uranus is going to change it. Uranus is going to change it. So they're both pushing, pulling, right? And this has to do with your 8th house. So 8th house is about transformation. 8th house is about, let me make sure, 12, 11, 10. Sorry, it's your 9th house. I knew when I was saying 8th house, it didn't feel right. Okay, so this is your 9th house. So this is stuff that you've already been working on, but it's going to feel more so in the next 15 days or 17 days. It's just going to feel, because it's about to end. It's about to be done with, right? And so this is your belief system. This is your, the 9th house has blessings in it, right? The 9th house has luck in it. The 9th house has long-term travel, right? The 9th house has speakers and teachers and gurus and mentors. And it's also going to be talking about your father figures. It has to do with spirituality. And so whatever you've been working on, this quest for higher knowledge, this trying to do it right, in a very Aquarian, different way. So you're, like, this time you're really seeing it differently because Aquarian's in there, and Aquarian can help you see it differently. Whatever you've been focused on, whatever you're, like, this has really caused you to sit back and say, why are all these things, like, why do they continue to happen? Why isn't my life there yet, right? That's very, like, the Aquarian, like, all this stuff that's going on, that's what's caused you to sort of sit back and see it differently, right? Well, with these two squares, Mars wants to rule it. Mars is like, I already know what to do. I'm going to give you the energy. And, Uranus is like, yeah, but we got to do it this way. And so it's going to be this push and pull. But ultimately, you can focus this energy when Uranus makes the shift. So there's something going on that's going to be completed about what you've been focusing on that's going to help you move forward. That makes sense? Okay, so I'm telling you that because you're going to feel this way for the next 15 days. And I know you don't want to, because I don't want to either. But it's necessary for where we're going. Okay, remember, we have all these retrogrades. Now, on the 7th, we do have some good news. The 7th, we have Venus moving into Libra, right? And so Venus has been in Virgo, in your 4th house, right? And so you're really looking about how to be stable. You're really taking care of yourself. That's why you're like, you know what, I don't want to do that now. I want to do this. I want to just relax. I want to just be. Like you've been really trying to stabilize everything for yourself, right? That's the 4th house. Like really understanding, right? And then now that it's moved, Venus is the planet of love, luck, and money. It's going to move into your 5th house. That's the 5th house of creativity, but it's also the 5th house of love affairs. So if it's time for a partner, if it's time for more money, if it's time for you to get that break, like if it's time, that's what Venus wants to bring you. It's going to behave in a very Libran way, which can be very giving, very beautiful, something you really, really wanted. Maybe something bigger than you wanted, right? That's going to be going on throughout the month once it enters. As you let go in this North Node, as you let go and understand, as you release what no longer serves you, it will bring you more room. It will give you more room in your energetic field to accept these blessings. Okay? Make sense? So that's your 5th house. Now, then we have the big dog, the other big dog. I really think the lunar eclipse, but the solar eclipse is probably what you're going to be more excited about, because the solar eclipse, where the lunar eclipse takes what no longer serves you, teaches you about detachment, teaches you about letting go, right? The solar eclipse gives. The solar eclipse wants to give you. It'll give you something to fulfill you, to help you experience what you came here to do. No, not just to help you, to actually, for some of you, well, for all of us, it will give you that thing to help you, to have you experience these desires that you have, these dreams that you have, these visions, these things that you've seen for yourself, right? And so this is so that you can fulfill your soul, remember? So your soul, as much as you want to have things and have those dreams, it also wants to not carry all the other stuff, right? And so that's what this is about, this lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, right? Well, when the solar eclipse happens, it's happening in your 3rd house, but it has to do with your north node. So your north node in your birth chart is placed somewhere, right? That's your life path. But this right now, this north node being in this 3rd house, means there's something that you're wanting to experience for your life path that's going to fulfill you emotionally. It's going to grow your light. It's going to help you understand and experience and grow. Okay, so we could have a lot of presents, we could have some presents. It all depends on what you've released. It all depends on where you're at, because you've heard me say this before. A 20-year-old is not where a 30-year-old is, not where a 40-year-old is, not where a 50-year-old is, right? We're all on different cycles. And so what comes to a 20-year-old could come to a 40-year-old, but it couldn't. And it could come to a 30-year-old, but it couldn't. And it could be different from the 30 to the 40, right? So it kind of all depends on what you've let go, what you understand, where your experiences are at. Remember, we have choices. Did you choose to experience that, or did you not? Right? And so whatever you're letting go and have room for, you're going to be receiving these gifts. Now, with the North Node, it's on your path. With Mercury retrograde, remember, it's going to help you process. And to me, that tells me, especially Gemmies, when you get this gift or this thing or this situation, or you're like this luck, this like, oh my gosh, what? Like, it's really going to cause you to do that. And again, You can experience from now to 6 months or now to a year, depends on your chart. And I know some of you were asking if I did that, so I'll have the icon in. I'll have the link up here if you want to order that to have me go through your transits with you. And so this right here, because this is going to help you experience, because it has to do with your north node in your path, and because it's retrograde, it tells me that when you get this thing, or when you get this relationship, or when you get this money, or when you get this situation, or when you get this job, or when you get this whatever this is, right? That it's going to help you solidify some things, complete some things, process some things, and say, you know what? Like, I'm going to give you an example. Some people, there really are good people here, and the universe really does love me, and I really am okay, and I really am on my path, and I haven't done anything wrong. Like, it's going to help you process and understand, okay? That's what this is for, okay? So, does that make sense? Now, on the 13th, that's when Mercury finally goes into, it's still retrograde, but it's moving back to its original spot where it started retrograde. It's moving back into Capricorn, so it's going to behave in a very different way than it behaved in Aquarius. Remember, whatever house a planet is in, they have to behave by the house's rules, okay? So, Mars goes into Capricorn. Capricorn is very methodical. Capricorn is knows 10 steps ahead. Capricorn is very giving. Capricorn is very slow moving. Capricorn is extremely intelligent. So Mars being in here is going to direct the attention of what's been going on, right? So whatever's been going on in your 9th house, understanding, belief system, long-term travel, it depends on your chart. Going into your 8th house, other people's resources, other people's money, shared resources. Maybe you and your partner share resources and you've been having issue with that. Whatever this is going to give you the energy that you haven't had to reorganize this, amend this, fix this, right? And as it moves closer to that spot, it becomes direct, because it becomes direct at the end of the month, is when it actually starts giving you blessings of it, giving you, like, finalizing it, giving you that stuff from it, okay? So that's happening on the 13th. Just be aware that all of a sudden, where you were upset and maybe frustrated and maybe angered, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that's not that bad. And then you kind of get clarity, and then but all of a sudden this is bothering you, right? Because it's just moved into the next house. Okay, and now on the 19th, Mercury finally goes direct. So whatever this is that you're processing, understanding, trying to figure out, for some of you, yeah, whatever this is, once it goes direct, remember, when it's retrograde, there could be some things that you're just trying to plan. Could be some things that you're just trying to rework. Could be some things that you just kind of need to, like, okay, when Mercury goes direct, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually sign the papers. I'm going to actually do da-da-da, right? And so when it goes direct on the 19th, you're still in shadow, but if you've been working on it and really processing it, once it goes direct, you're fine. I mean, that's the way I interpret it. Now, if you haven't been working on it, then I would watch out for the shadow. But if you've been working on it, you're processing it, it's in your awareness, on the 19th, you can make it move forward, okay? So then we go into the 24th for some of you, 25th for others. So on the 24th, the sun enters Virgo. So the sun always wants to bring clarity. That's going to be in your 4th house. These things that you'd worked on with Venus in that 4th house, it's going to clear it up. You're either going to get the responses you need, and that's why some of you are like, every time after retrograde, all of a sudden I get the calls back, and da-da-da-da. It's because not just that it go direct, but this moved into this house where this got cleared up. This is going to start clearing up. So this 4th house is going to you're going to get some clarity. Things are going to go your way. The 4th house is about home is where your heart is, being happy, being peaceful, and maybe receiving more blessings of the things that Venus was trying to bring you in this house, okay? So that's on the 24th. Then on the 26th, you have the full moon in Pisces, right? And so the full moon in Pisces has to do for you guys in your 10th house of career, life purpose, right? 10th house of status, reputation, all of that. And so even though Neptune's been in there, And so you probably at work, or if you're a public figure, you're looking really good because that's Neptune. Neptune's about the fame, about taking all the boundaries down, right? But with the full moon there, full moon is about letting go. So maybe with Neptune in there, you hadn't seen things as clearly as you wanted to see in your work, in your career, in your process. Maybe they weren't processing fast enough. Maybe people weren't, like, you thought it was one way, but it was really another. Maybe there was some miscommunication. Maybe you accidentally offended somebody, but you didn't really know that you did, right? And so that's all Neptunian stuff, especially with Pisces. And if you, I will tell you this, because I've said this, I think I said this to the Aquarians. This Neptune, full moon, and Pisces, all three of these energies are in this 10th house for you, right? That means you can't go wrong. If you have released and cleared and let go and really worked on and processed with this north node, the south node, this lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, if you let go, that when this full moon comes on the 26th, it's about manifesting for you. It's about things coming in. It's about fate and destiny. It's about, all you got to do is put your attention and focus on something, and it will come through. That's what this Pisces full moon means to you in your career, in your life purpose, in your work. Okay? So I'm excited for that for you guys, because if you've cleared, I'm telling you, if you've cleared, if you haven't, then you're going to be clearing here. It's going to be really emotional for you. It's going to be feeling like you're feeling out lethargic, not seeing it right. Why do things always happen? Da 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 da. But if you've cleared during these eclipses and during this retrograde, then this is about manifesting fate, destiny, okay? So it's kind of up to you, Jimmys. Now, oh, and I'm sorry, then you have this grand trine. So on this day with this full moon, you have this grand trine. So you have the possibility of gift. You know, grand trines to me are gifts, divinely guided gifts being brought to you for your path, right? This is that Saturn Uranus. Now that, you know, this was squared, but now that you've been working on it, it's trining Uranus. It's trining the sun. It wants to bring you something. Saturn is not I call Saturn Big Daddy. Saturn's not a bad guy. Saturn just wants you to be responsible. But when he gives you a lot. He just makes you work hard for it, and he makes you wait for it. He likes to do that. But when he gives a lot. So something could happen here, like these manifestations could be miracles for me, especially with this grand trine wanting to give you something, but it's only if you have room in your energetic field. That's kind of up to you, Jimmy. Kind of up to you. Okay? So, last thing, on the 28th, we have Mars going direct. So Mars is finally, all this work, all this amending, all this frustration, all this letting go, all this, like, it not coming through, all of this. From the 28th on, it begins to manifest things, bring things to you. And this, Jimmy, is in your 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th. It's other people's resources, shared resources, transformation. It actually has to do with sexuality, too. So, it can bring you people. It can bring you that grant. It can bring you an inheritance. It can bring you, like, you could have been working on this inheritance here, and maybe it doesn't look like it's going your way. Maybe the paperwork wasn't done right. Like, as it gets closer, as Saturn gets closer to Pluto and Mars and Pluto get closer, it's going to be bringing you something, okay? But the finalization of all this won't occur till the end of September and into October. So it'll be bringing you something. Doesn't mean it's finalized yet, okay? But it's going to be now, you're going to reap the benefits more of it if you've done the work, okay? All right, my gorgeous Jimmies, I love you, love you, love you. Thank you again for having patience with me. And I will get those tarot readings out as soon as I can. Bye.